Welcome to Chapter 8 on page 71. But before we go to Chapter 8, let's talk a little bit about what happened in Chapter 7. You remember the cuckoo clock was saying, "Warning, warning." Well, turns out the warning was this creepy kid who's a little bit annoying by the name of Edison was hiding in the fix-it shop. I think he was just trying to be a little bit nosy to see what they were up to for the science fair. And he brought his chimp, Mr. Chimp, with a piece of paper that says that if they don't win that prize, that Grandpa Al is going to lose the fix-it shop. So Frank is a little worried about that, and they definitely have to win that prize now because we don't want annoying Edison to get the fix-it shop. We also learned that Mr. Chimp is not a monkey. He's an ape. And if you look on page 70, they have the pictures of those two animals. One says monkey, one says ape. And guess what I learned? I learned from looking at the pictures that a monkey has a smaller brain. You can see his little head, and then you see the larger brain on the ape. And that a monkey has a tail that I guess he can swing from, and an ape doesn't have a tail. So I learned something with you today, unless you already knew that. Okay, so let's move along to Chapter 8 and see what Frank plans to do in order to win that prize, because we've got to win that prize now, because we don't want menacing old Edison to win and take over the shop. Chapter 8, page 71. Frank Einstein pulls a Phillips head screwdriver out of his lab coat pocket and quickly rewires the repair shop doorbell button. Frank pushes the doorbell to check his connection. The newly connected rubber fish on a plaque on the wall of Frank's laboratory whips his head out sideways and starts singing, "We are the champions." Watson listens to the tune coming from the lab. He nods. "Nice." Frank flips the shop sign over from open to ring buzzer. He locks the front door to keep out any more unwanted visitors. "Now let's get to work," says Frank. "We've got a prize to win." He and Watson head out of the shop and back into the yard. Clink, clank, into the lab. Clink pops to life and rolls quickly toward Frank and Watson. Clank throws off the dryer drum disguise and hustles across the backyard, dragging a mess of copper wire tangled around his left arm and a green garden hose wrapped around his right leg. In the lab, Frank stands in front of his wall of science, which is plastered with hundreds of his plans, ideas, sketches, notes, inventions, doodles, and pictures of his favorite scientists. Clink, Clank, and Watson face Frank and the wall. Frank starts pacing back and forth the way he does when he's really thinking. Okay, here's what we've got. All of science, every bit of what the world is and how it works. From the tiniest bit of matter to the giantest outer space of maybe a gazillion universes. But first, I need the coolest invention to win the Midville Science Prize. Clink and Clank, we're gonna need every bit of your robot intelligence. "Yes," says Clink. "I am sure you will." Oh boy, says Clank. "Are we going to make a baking soda volcano?" "No," says Frank. "Collect cow farts?" Frank paces. "Could be a good idea, but not right now." Clank whirs and hums for a minute. "Build a Shrinky Pig 2000? Please do not start with the poopy pants again," Clink beeps. "We're gonna need something crazy," says Frank. "Something new, something amazing." Watson drops his backpack onto the workbench. "We can use my project." "Thanks for the offer, Watson," but Watson pulls out a plastic tub filled with a tan-colored goo. "It's new and it's amazing. It will do for a peanut butter what the Kellogg brothers did for corn." "Yes," beeps Clank. "What Goodyear did for rubber." "Yes, boops Clank. "What Walter Deemer did for gum." "Yes." "Wait a minute. Who?" beeps Clank. Clink searches his database in a nanosecond. Philadelphia accountant, inventor of bubblegum, 1928. He maximized the elasticity of the gum for better formation of bubbles. Watson breaks off a chunk of the tan goo, and holds it up to the light. "Yes, we will win the prize, wow the world, and save Grandpa Al's place from Edison and his ape. It's the universe's strongest, most delicious, so amazing, Watson's Universal Strength Peanut Butter Bubblegum." "Thanks for the very generous offer," says Frank, "but Clank shakes the garden hose off his leg. Most delicious, so amazing. Yes, I want Watson's Universal Strength Peanut Butter Bubble Gum. Clank snatches the goo out of Watson's hand. Frank calls, Clank, don't! But before anyone can stop him, Clank pushes the wad of gum into his input port. Says Clank. Clank's hard drive brain whirs hard. Says Clank. Clank's head starts to heat up. His eyes roll funny. Moans Clank. Clank's brain fan spins furiously. Switches and relays clink and grind and stutter. Clank wobbles. He shuts down. He tilts, tips, and crashes onto the floor with a hard metallic Clink says in his flattest GPS voice, so amazing. Frank and Watson hurry to sit Clank up against the workbench. Frank grabs his tools, unbolts Clank's brain panel, and flips open Clank's head. In all the commotion, no one notices the small metal bug-shaped drone power up and take off from exactly where Edison patted Watson on his shoulder, twice. The drone bug flies up to the center ceiling beam, lands, extends its broadcasting antenna, and points its compound eye camera down at Frank's entire lab. Below, Watson and Frank pick the sticky tan mess out of the gears and wheels and discs of Clank's brain. Watson tugs at a long stretch of gum. It pulls, and finally snaps free of Clank's head. Frank examines the two small springs and a screw still stuck in Watson's Universal Strength Peanut Butter Bubble Gum. Watson shrugs. I told you it was strong. Wow, chapter 8 was a really quick chapter. But it's a very important chapter because what was happening after Clank got stuck all that gooey guck that Watson brought over? He got it stuck in him and they were pulling it apart. And while they were pulling it apart, what did they not notice happening? That's right. There's a bug. There's a bug in the lab. And who left that bug there? Yep, Edison. Edison left a bug that is hovering above and is able to see what's going on. So Edison is now spying on Frank and the gang. Oh boy, he's going to start seeing things that he shouldn't be able to see. And let's find out what happens in chapter 9. Page 78. Are you ready? Frank flips Clank's skull shut. He tightens the latch bolt, locks the brain panel closed, and flips Clank's keyboard rhythm beats power switch on. Clank's Casio keyboard heart motor starts with a small bing. Clank's Hug Me Monkey brain revs. Clank lights up, left eye, right eye, antenna. Frank shines his flashlight into Clank's neck vent, checking the action of his spinning disc brain. He moves one finger back and forth in front of Clank's eye lens to test its tracking. Clank, can you hear me? Can I hear you? Why should I hear you? Asks Clank. Why do bees hum? Uh-oh, says Frank. I think we really messed him up. Clank searches his own memory for bees hum, then reports. Bees flap a forward and a hind wing at 230 beats per second. Muscles attached directly to the wings, stroking in a variety of patterns to fly, dive, and hover. Vibration of the wings creates the humming sound. Nope, says Clank. Bees hum because they do not know the words. Growls Clank. This is not true. Recalculating. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, he's fine, says Frank. Let's get back to work. Frank folds his arms and stares at his wall of signs. He looks over the wonderful mess of pictures, information, ideas, quotes. He thinks. Clank lumbers to his feet. Clank resets his recalculating GPS brain. Watson sorts through a stack of papers and finds the one he's looking for. Hey, Frank. What do we want? Electrical impulses in Frank's brain cells connect, multiply, form a pattern, make an idea. That's it, says Frank. Exactly, Watson. What do we want? And we work back from there. Frank starts pacing again. First, obviously, win the Midville Science Prize. But more importantly, Master all science. The word comes from the Latin for knowledge. We want all knowledge. All knowledge. Clink and clank, your robot brains make this possible. Obviously, says Clink. Doobie doobie doo, hums Clank. Frank points to a picture on his wall of science. Like this guy, Aristotle. He wanted the science of everything. Watson answers, "No, you're right, Watson," says Frank. "It's not about Aristotle. Let's divide all of science into 6 areas. Then, with Clink and Clank, we can study each area. And we learn everything." Frank pins a symbol to the top left corner of the wall. First, matter. Atoms, molecules, elements, compounds. States of matter. What atoms are made of? Protons, neutrons, electrons, and antimatter. Watson holds up one hand. "Yeah, but what about energy?" asked Frank. "Exactly. That's next, Watson." Frank pins a second symbol to the top of the wall next to the first. Energy. It's what makes all life possible. We're alive because energy from the sun is converted into food that we convert back to energy to run everything in our bodies. And there's light, sound, motion, magnetism, electricity, all different kinds of energy. Then there are forces, laws of motion, all stuff we know from Sir Isaac Newton. Clank hears the name Newton and chimes in, "There once was a fellow named Newton whose beans gave him trouble with tootin'." "Stop that limerick right there," says Clink. "That is not true." "So," begins Watson. "So, what about humans?" "Perfect, Watson." "That should be next." Frank pins up a third symbol. Humans. How the human body works. All its different systems. Bones, blood, nerves, breathing. The brain, organs, senses, all the different kinds of cells. "No," says Watson, showing the paper in his hand. "I mean, we should go bigger? Study life, all living things." Frank throws up his hands and paces around the workbench. He pins up a fourth paper. Life. Of course, the next logical step. The interconnection of plants, animals, and people. How everything fits into the bigger picture. How we organize and classify all living things. Reptiles, mammals, birds, and bees. Animal, plant, fungi, protist. Clink chants. Watson squints at the wall of science. "Wow, I gotta tell you, I'm amazed too." Frank rubs his hands together. "So much, so incredible. And then how all of this works on our planet." Frank pins up a fifth symbol. "Yes, Earth, continents, oceans, climates, weather, types of rocks." Clank lights up. "Hey, what is a rock's favorite music?" "A rock cannot have favorite music. It cannot hear music. Rock and roll." Clank dances to rock beat number 2. Says Watson, knowing what's coming next. "Brilliant," answers Frank, pinning the 6th symbol to the top of the wall. "Everything, the universe, where Earth fits into our solar system, our galaxy, space, other suns, other planets, maybe even other universes." Watson holds his head in his hands. Frank spins around and looks at his charts for dinosaurs, birds, fish, and mammals. He takes in his diagrams of steam engines, light bulbs, jet engines. He checks his portraits of Galileo, Charles Darwin, Albert Einstein. "So much science," says Frank. "Almost too much." The tiny drone bug high above zooms its camera eye in tight on the paper Watson is holding. "It is definitely too much," says Watson, "because I just want to know what we want." He raises the takeout menu he's been holding for the last 20 minutes. "For lunch." "Oh," says Frank, still thinking about matter, energy, humans, life, Earth, and the universe. "Probably pizza. And most definitely with everything on it."